When you see around the globe the maldistribution of wealth, the desperate plight of millions of people in underdeveloped countries, when you see so few haves and so many have-nots, when you see the greed and the concentration of power within, did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy. The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade. If you want to know where the masses are worst off, it's exactly in the kinds of societies that depart from that. So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear, that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
But it seems to reward not virtue as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think the communist commissar rewards virtue? You think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? You know, I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us.
Well,
I don't even trust you to do that.
So the question is, what kind of country do you want to live in? Well, a fair country, a decent country, a cohesive country, a country whose leaders don't accelerate the forces of change purely for their own profit and amusement, a country you might recognize when you're old, a country that listens to young people who don't live in Brooklyn, a country where you can make a solid living outside of the big cities, a country where Lewiston, Maine seems almost as important as the west side of Los Angeles, a country where environmentalism means getting outside and picking up the trash, a clean, orderly, stable country that respects itself. And above all, a country where normal people with an average education who grew up no place special can get married and have happy kids and repeat unto the generations. A country that actually cares about families, the building block of everything. What will it take to get a country like that? Leaders who want it. For now, those leaders will have to be Republicans. There's no option at this point. But first, Republican leaders will have to acknowledge that market capitalism is not a religion. Market capitalism is a tool, like a staple gun or a toaster. You'd have to be a fool to worship it. Our system was created by human beings for the benefit of human beings. We do not exist to serve markets, just the opposite. Any economic system that weakens and destroys families is not worth having. A system like that is the enemy of a healthy society.
Isn't it interesting that the one person they managed to find to defend greed just happened to be a member of the tribe? Now let's give old Milty some credit and assume that he really thought he was right, that he made that argument in good faith. It doesn't matter, because time has proven him wrong. No matter how much people like Friedman or Ben Shapiro will be pedantic and pretend that trickle-down economics is actually called supply-side economics and is therefore correct due to some semantic trick, there's a reason greed is called a sin in the Bible. The lack of noblesse oblige is why greed is allowed to take root in our elite. Your average boomercon will say that absolute power corrupts absolutely, but then they'll rush to defend their nearest billionaire. And while I'm not sure I agree with the leftist sentiment that no one makes that kind of money without utilizing unethical behavior, I do think that today's elites have lost any sense of noblesse oblige. Noblesse oblige is an assumption that's baked into the trickle-down economics cake. If you take it away, the whole theory collapses. The concentric circles of Ordo Amoris become inverted. Capitalist forces drive CEOs to neglect their own native populations in search of maximal profit. Tradition is casually tossed aside in favor of better-selling novelty. Milton Friedman's assumption about greed is that having noblesse oblige is irrelevant in the end. A rising tide will lift all ships, and so if you just sick, greedy capitalists upon the world, everything gets better for everyone because there's no better system after all, and so it's an abstract kind of noblesse oblige. In pursuing maximal profits, the rich get mega rich, the rest of us kind of get crumbs, and we need to be okay with that because they've kind of half-assed fulfilled their duties as leaders, and they feel it's good enough. The proponents of Milton Friedman's ideology never take into account things like corruption or malevolence, and yet they rush to defend a system that has been completely hijacked by the most corrupt and malevolent people on the planet. Milton Friedman would describe rich people in Russia as oligarchs, but would never use that word to describe any rich people here in the U.S. Interesting how that works. It's interesting in the same way the good guys have won every war in history. Nowhere is Milton Friedman's principle proven more wrong than in the Sam Bankman-Fried saga. SBF's effective altruism took the opposite approach of Ordo Amoris and instead helps those farthest away instead of those here. It took a cold, clinical look at charity, analyzing which actions produce the most good dollar for dollar. And sure, we all have the instinct to help those in your community first, but it's simply not the most effective method. You could help your own people, those struggling to make it in the country you share, or you could buy mosquito nets in Africa. It's nothing personal, it's just the numbers. It's kind of like how United Healthcare used AI to evaluate insurance claims, to accept or deny them. It's nothing personal that up to 90% of claims were rejected for elderly patients, regardless of what their doctors said was medically necessary. It's just what AI told them to do. So what do we expect from them? They are in the profit-making business, and this is the best way to make profit. Corporations don't have souls, so what do we expect? In Tucker's interview with SBF's associate, his team approached Sam and said, "Look, we have more money than we know what to do with, and we got richer than we ever thought we would. We think it's time to start giving the money away." And what did Sam say? No, it's not. And SBF was apparently very willing to let a ton of people die by donating massive amounts of money to the Democrats. Well, how many people in Africa could that have saved by using that money? This is called greed and corruption. It's greed when the CEO lays off his workforce and gets a new sports car. It's greed when CEOs send jobs overseas because that's a way of increasing profits. When CEOs decide to import massive amounts of H-1B visas, that's greed. It's greedy to want to replace everyone's job with AI because it comes at the direct expense of the native population, who they obviously don't care about and feel no obligation to. It's the downstream effect of globalism, and it's this worship of GDP and the worship of line go up. Whether you agree with me or not, the fact remains that this attitude is a problem for the elites. Whether income equality is real or not doesn't even matter, because the fact that people think it's real is going to be a problem. These are issues that Dave Ramsey and Mike Rowe refuse to deal with because it has a whiff of leftism to it. It would be so much smarter to address it head on, but they refuse to, because at the end of the day, they are corporate simps. They are shills for this group of elites who want you to quit bitching and get back to work and accept things for how they are, no matter how much more difficult and further away the American dream gets for you and your kids and your grandkids. Because screw 'em. Because money, that's why. Screw 'em. What I'd like to see is a faction of the right actually address these issues in a productive way. But so far, and this has been pointed out by Dave the Distributist, most leaders on the right, particularly in the church, are worthless on this front. The message continues to be hollow, self-help type talking points. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, grit your teeth, and suck it up. This is an unsustainable viewpoint, okay? We're going to have to do better than that moving forward. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and type of content I'm making, consider giving this video a like or maybe subscribing to the channel. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.